Hi, I'm Jason from the Help Program, a service of the Mass Municipal Wholesale Electric Company and your participating municipal electric department. I'm here with David to talk about his experience as an EV owner for the past 2 years. David, what motivated you to look into EVs in the first place?
Really, it was the public power incentive that came out about 2 years ago. It was a great deal. It was $10,000 off of the price of Nissan Leaf. And at about that time, one of our vehicles in our household, it was the end of life, we needed to get rid of it. So we started considering an EV at that point. We'd owned hybrids for about 10 years, so we were somewhat familiar with battery technology. And we drove the Nissan Leaf and loved it, my wife and I. And at that point, we decided to go ahead with it.
Now, what were some of the other incentives you took advantage of and your process in terms of going through that and getting the incentives?
So we also took advantage of the state incentive at that time and the federal tax credit for purchasing an EV. The process was to visit the dealer and talk to the dealer, come up with a price, and then present the incentive on top of that.
Now, having owned hybrids and other battery-powered vehicles for over 10 years before this, what were your expectations going into an EV purchase?
We looked at it as more or less a commuter car to use around town. We knew that we didn't think we would want to use it on a long trip that would require recharging. But we had, fortunately, within the household, a second hybrid car that we would plan on using for long trips. So our expectations really were just as a kind of day-to-day around town, short distance vehicle.
Now, have you utilized public charging at all once you've had the vehicle, or has it primarily been home-based charging?
It's been primarily home-based. Before we purchased the vehicle, we looked around Western Massachusetts to see where the various charging stations were located. But I would say 98% of the time we're charging it at home. Almost every trip every time we're going to use it, we pretty much plan on going to where we want to go and come back without having to charge in between. But there have been a few times when we've gone somewhere where we've known there has been charging. It was a little bit beyond the range, and we've charged there in order to return.
Now, having owned this thing for almost 2 years, were there any things that were surprises or things you weren't expecting when you initially purchased the vehicle that you learned about EV ownership in the process?
Yeah, a lot of surprises, really. I mean, like any new technology, we didn't really know what to expect. One of the surprises is how much we love the car. So we've ended up driving it a lot more than what we thought was going to be our primary car. And also, we discovered that the vast majority of the trips we make from day to day are well within range of this car, which made it very convenient to use. So we've ended up using it more than just an around town car. We can travel 50 miles up on the other side of the state and come back on a single charge. And we usually do that just because we enjoy driving the car so much.
Has there been any negatives in your experience in terms of owning the car, or cautions you might have to other potential EV car buyers?
I wouldn't say there were negatives because it has, we had expectations in the beginning as to how we were going to be using it, and it certainly has met those expectations. I would caution, it's very clear, like any vehicle, that the faster you drive it, the less efficient it is, and therefore the more power you use in order to go. So we have found that on a longer trip, we will tend to not drive at 65 miles per hour. We keep it down a little bit below in order to get more range out of the battery. The other thing I would caution, which we were familiar with because we had owned hybrids, is that in cold temperatures, the capacity of the battery goes down quite a bit, so that will affect your range as well. So in thinking about how you might use a vehicle, you want to be a little conservative in terms of distances that you plan on driving it in order to account for winter months.
And how much have you driven it since you first bought the vehicle?
We've driven a lot more than we expected. We have put in just over 2 years 24,000 miles on it, which is more than what we had put on our other vehicle. So it's been a lot. I expected to put half that on.
So you've owned the vehicle for over 24,000 miles. What's been your experience with maintenance?
That's been great. I mean, we have at 7,000 miles, the recommended maintenance is rotate the tires, and that's it. There are no oil changes on an electric vehicle. At 16,000 miles, they checked the fluids, again, rotated the tires, very minimal maintenance. So we've been very happy with the reduced costs as far as maintenance goes.